Let's not talk about the teaching of speaking skills in second language classrooms. As I have already mentioned in a previous module, that teaching of speaking skill is probably one of the main features of teaching a second language, and this is one of rather the most important skill which is looked for in the teaching of a second language. But unfortunately, this has been not the focus of teaching in many second language contexts, sometimes because of lack of the availability of resource persons, and sometimes because of the lack of sheer focus on this. Many second language contexts traditionally have been focusing on reading and writing more. Same is the case in Pakistan. But quite recently, we have seen, especially after the advent of communicative theory in second language teaching, we have seen that there is a shift towards more communication-based language teaching, where the contextualized purposes of the language use have come to service, and teachers have started utilizing them quite frequently. In order to look deep into this, let's go and have a look at the various aspects of this communication or communicative language teaching theory. This comprises 4 dimensions, and the first one is grammatical competence. Grammatical competence involves the knowledge about language rules, and these rules involve those related to the orthography, phonology, pronunciation, vocabulary, word formation, and then sentence formation. All these rules are important to be known by a language learner in order to become a good communicator in that language. Then we have sociolinguistic competence. Mere knowledge of language and its grammar is not enough. A good learner will have to be competent in the sociolinguistic aspects of that language as well. And this includes the understanding of the various expressions of that language in sociolinguistic situations, and their various meanings which could accrue from different situations. Then we have discourse competence, and this involves the understanding of the coherence of the discourse we produce in a situation, as well as the cohesion. Is the text being spoken or produced is well connected to give proper meaning to the reader or listener? That is very important to be known by the user. So this discourse competence actually focuses on this. Then we have strategic competence. This is a combination of various compensatory strategies. By that we mean that those strategies which help us repair our conversation if we are in fear of breaking down somewhere during the process of communication. So these compensatory strategies basically are those strategies which help us continue with our conversation in different situations. The impact of this communication-based language teaching theory has been far-reaching on the teaching. We could see that now the teachers focus on both accuracy and fluency of their learners. Previously, it was accuracy which was focused more. But these days, both a combination of fluency and accuracy are being emphasized on by the teacher. We could also see that now the emphasis is not only on 1 or 2 skills, rather the focus is on teaching or making students learn all integrated language skills. So therefore, listening and speaking are also in the limelight. However, teaching speaking is not easy, as we see that it's very difficult to make students move within a classroom for a speaking task. They are always reluctant and shy to participate in the class, most of them in a typical second language classroom. So learners in this situation may be trained to develop their own strategies to participate in the classroom, and teacher can very much help them in doing so. And they could be encouraged to initiate communication within the classroom, and they can also be encouraged to determine the content of their own communication. They could be allowed to evaluate their own speaking and have a kind of self-assessment. One basic consideration in teaching speaking skills within a classroom should be the level of students. Sometimes we have people with different abilities in the same classroom, so the teacher should be very careful while introducing a speaking activity within the classroom. For example, oral skills for some non-academic adults could focus on the knowledge of some primary speaking functions or some basic communication. In contrast, we could see that academic ESL learners would need to have an understanding and practice of rigorous speaking drills in various important social and professional functions within the classroom. And they should be trained to participate in the classroom, also by having discussion with their peers, and they should be trained into various speaking skills, for example, asking and answering questions, etc. There could be so many, and we'll come to them later on. There are a few things which could help reluctant learners to participate in speaking skills. For example, they could be trained to prepare for their participation in the classroom. They can be given extra time before their turn to speak in the classroom. They should be asked to plan and rehearse their speaking. Instead of asking them come to the stage and speak straight away, they could be given time to rehearse it before they speak. And some quiet time to think over what they want to speak. Repetition is also important. They could be given time, or they could be allowed to repeat what they said already in the classroom. So a speaking drill may follow this pattern. For example, planning what to speak by reluctant speakers, then performing it, then analyzing what they spoke, and then repeating it. This could make learning much easier for the reluctant speakers. A teacher might divide class into small groups when people are afraid of bigger groups. Role of teacher is very important in a speaking classroom. He may act as a prompter. He could encourage students to participate in the classroom and provide necessary prompts. He could be a participant. He could give clues. He could act as an animator in the classroom. He could perform what students find difficult to perform. And he could also be a feedback provider. He can regularly provide feedback to his or her students. But one point should be kept in mind here, that overcorrection during a speaking drill could be counterproductive.